not presuming you haven't been asked this before, but may I ask you kindly to speak to...
Hero, publicly, Rabbi said what? About for their continuance, dishonorable discharge of these black sailors. I ask you, Mr. Muhammad, what have you done on this specific issue?
Well, it's kind of difficult to believe you on anything, but I would say this, that I do know that during that same war, that America was, as is today, so racist until the German officers, when they were captured, could eat in the same mess hall and have the same accommodations as the white American officers. But the black troops were segregated, couldn't come into that mess hall unless they were scrubbing the floors and washing dishes. So it was a white man honoring another white man, though one was German and they were supposed to be enemies, there was still a tie that was able to bind the two together.
And we'll be back in just a moment. You want to show that? What is that? Is that a...
It's a black man being burned alive with an audience like this cheering and applauding and tiptoeing to get in the picture.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, hi. I'm representing Queens College, and everyone is talking about what's been denied. But the problem that we have as students is our history is not being taught in the textbooks. And by me being a student and a citizen of America, I would like to know, when is that time going to come so you can learn about my history and understand my people? We are not in your books.
Yes. So, yes, Phil, I like to say that, you know, what he's saying is being backed up by Jewish scholars as well. This is not only the information that Khalid has. Jewish scholars have the information. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. He came to Fort Worth, Texas, where the police department is killing black men wholesale. 6 black men have been killed in less than a year. But through his effort, there's been a change on the gang members' part in our community. So we appreciate Brother Khalid. Yes, sir.
Being an educated college person, I see that you can always bring up events like this where people have been killed and mass murders from all people. Let's learn off the past and not make high school comments like yours and put down Hitler-like manners and try to form peace and learn off the past and from the future.
Sir, you wanted to say. Sir.
Right here.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to see us lay to rest this whole notion of anti-Semitism. The one thing that is an incorrect statement, because the whole idea of a Semites were people who lived in southwestern Asia, including northeast Africa and the Arabian Peninsula, who spoke Ugaritic, who spoke Ge'ez, who spoke Ethiopic, spoke Hebrew, who spoke Arabic. Those are our people. We are a Semitic people. Therefore, we cannot be anti-Semitic. Ashkenazic Jews are calling us anti-Semitic. We cannot be anti-Semitic because we are the descendants of a Semitic people. Let's lay that to rest. That was a weapon in the hands of the Jews since 1870. They used it against other people, but it doesn't work against people in Northeast Africa. Thank you.
I can't believe exactly what I'm hearing. We went to war in World War II to fight for the freedom of speech. We didn't fight for freedom of speech of hatred. Many of our members, I'm the National Commander of Jewish War Veterans, and over 50,000 of our men died. They're fighting for your right to speech here now. I don't understand why you come out with such hatred.
Phil, excuse me, Phil.
Mr. Muhammad.
You make me sick to my stomach with that. Because at the same time that you were fighting, you were not fighting for the freedom and independence of black people. Soldiers, black soldiers in segregated companies lost their lives on foreign soil there, but would have to come back and fight just to get a bite to eat and not have to go to the toilet on the side of the road somewhere in the bushes. So you're nothing but hypocrites, and you won't pull that small-time stuff over on me.
Why don't we talk about how the merchant Jews come into our black neighborhoods and they suck the life and the money out of our neighborhoods and put it back into their neighborhoods?
First of all, let's say black short right now. Why statement?
NAACP said, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And I'd like to just end this show, hopefully, by some positive note and ask Khalid
us what his real agenda is. Is it just to go out and try to talk about hating people, or are we going to have a race war, or are we going to have cooperation? We're going to try to work together.
Thank you for the question. I'll give you an opportunity to answer that question when we come back in just a moment. To our agreement with Khalid Muhammad, I'm pleased to share this number with you. This is the Black African Holocaust Council 800 number. 1-800-859-0170. I say again, this 800 number is 859-0170, the Black African Holocaust Council. The gentleman has a question of Mr. Muhammad. Are we going to preach hate? Are we going to have a race war? Where are we going, and what would you like to do to promote where you think we should go?
We are taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to show courtesy, respect, and kindness, to be polite to all people as long as they are courteous, respectful, kind, and polite to us. But we must look at the fact that we don't teach hatred. Everywhere we go as black people, we face hatred. Look at it. Look at it. Angel food cake, white people say, is white. Devil's food cake, you say, is black. You wear white to weddings and black to funerals. Black ball, black male. You give us a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, pale-skinned, buttermilk complexion Jesus in contradiction to the black Jesus with nappy hair in the Bible. Our own babies, according to behavioral scientists, our baby girls, when confronted with choosing between a black doll and a white doll, there has been so much damage done. They choose the white doll and say the black doll is ugly. So racism is everywhere, and it's institutionalized. We cannot really be racist because racism is prejudice plus power. Nothing I say up here nor anywhere in the world, impact, stop fronting, will impact on any white folks in this audience, on your job, in politics, in economics, in housing, in the society. We don't have the power to do that, so we cannot be racist. You know what I'm saying? Will impact, stop fronting. This plus power. The black doll is ugly. So racism is everywhere, and it's institutionalized. We cannot really be racist because racism is prejudice plus power. Nothing I say up here nor anywhere in the world will impact, stop fronting, will impact on any white folks in this audience, on your job, in politics, in economics, in housing, in the society. We don't have the power to do that, so we cannot be racist. You know what I'm saying?
I know, man. I know. Yeah, I don't know, man. I tried to find a different carrier when I first moved here, bro. I'm telling you, man. These are the only people that provide internet around here, and it fucking sucks. And that's all I have is internet. I don't have like phone or cable or nothing with these people, yo. And they can't just get like an internet service right, yo. I just want the basic shit, internet. And then I got like a speedier package because I told them like, yo, I'm a gamer. And I have like more than one fucking console and wireless device in my house at a time. Yo, like I don't want the basic package, but I don't want like your business package either. But so I pay like a couple dollars for my goddamn internet, bro. And that shit still be crappy. Just piss me the fuck off, yo. You don't even know. And then for years I've been saying, oh, like you say, just get a signal booster. Just get a bridge another router. How do I get it up here without a wire though? Like I'm on the third floor. Nice. That makes sense. Oh man. All right. My fucking phone about to die.
I started Truebill because I hate paying for subscriptions I'm not using. Find something you no longer want? Truebill can cancel it for you. Actually, I started Truebill because I hated using spreadsheets to keep track of my money. Truebill is an all-in-one finance app that tracks and categorizes your spending and alerts you if anything needs your attention. Nice try. I started Truebill because I was tired of overpaying for bills that only seem to go up. One thing we can all agree on is that managing money is hard. So don't do it alone. Download Truebill, the money app that works for you.
Barack Obama wants more internet regulation and free speech. Everyone wants more internet regulation and free speech. Aren't you sat at home right now saying, won't someone please regulate my free speech so big tech can get on with their job of taking all our money? Hello there, you 5.5 million awakening wonders. Together we voyage onwards. Isn't it complicated being alive? Isn't it difficult to hold differing, distinct, often opposing opinions? Isn't it awkward and interesting to see people that you once thought were incredible joining the bandwagon of state-sponsored censorship for all but the most powerful voices in the world? Like, if you're me, and I am, I remember when Barack Obama came to power thinking, this is brilliant. This charismatic, interesting politician who will surely have a vested interest in ordinary people of all races and advancing the interests of folk that exist outside of that centralized pyramid of power, tech oligarchy,
media, big business, state-sponsored corporatism. Barack Obama is the voice we need. We have a similar thing in our country. I'm from the UK. Tony Blair, when he came into power, oh, this is going to be different. This is going to be new. This guy, oh no, he's just doing wars everywhere whenever he gets a chance. And the same with Barack Obama. It makes you think, doesn't it, that these systems cannot produce figures that will ultimately do anything other than represent the interests of already powerful institutions. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you're not a subscriber yet, subscribe right now, please, and turn on that notification bell, because I need to know that you know when I'm talking. I hate the idea that I may say something and you not listen to it. That makes a fella insecure, so as it does. Okay, let's get on with this story. Barack Obama gave a speech at Stanford University in which he advocated for more big tech control over our free speech. Let's get into it. In a recent speech delivered at Stanford University, President Barack Obama called for more censorship of social media speech. They're really pulling out the big guns now, aren't they, with the misinformation? Quick, get Obama out. We can't have creaky old fart-ass Joe. Joe, say the misinformation problem. Oh, the misinformation. No, I deal with misinformation. Get Obama. Tony Blair, all these people that they consider are valuable, valid voices in this discourse, for me, are the voices that create the doubt, the criticism, the cynicism, the downright skepticism about everything that goes on in this conversation, because we've seen the decisions that they made. We can review the Obama administration now. We know what was promised and we know what happened. We can't say, oh no, but remember 2008, oh it was so good, Shepard Fairey did those amazing posters, let's get into it. I think that they're concerned about the emergence of new platforms. Elon Musk has taken over Twitter. Platforms like Rumble have emerged now, where free speech is a priority. Time to drag Obama out of retirement. Quick, people might still remember you positively. Free speech, I think, is a fundamental principle. Free speech should be used responsibly. We shouldn't be unkind and cruel to each other. We should be discerning about lies and what they call misinformation. But you've got to be aware by now that the biggest threat to your freedom is not you. It's centralised state authority. You might do some misinformation. Someone else might do some misinformation. Yeah, I'm also a little tiny bit concerned about the state itself and its relations with corporations and big media. Couldn't that create any problems? Oh no, don't worry about that. If we just keep giving them more and more power, everything will be alright for you in your life. Just observe the trends. He argued that without regulation, social media will have frightening implications. People are dying because of misinformation, Obama said. A bit of a vague sentence come out with people are dying of misinformation. Misinformation is subjective in lots of areas, isn't it? Whose misinformation? Misinformation usually means, customarily, and certainly these days means, we want to censor particular aspects of the debate. That's what the powerful have always offered. We'll keep you safe. Give us your money through taxes and do as you're told. There's nothing new going on here. That's the traditional relationship between the sovereign and the governed. The irony is saying people are dying because of misinformation is in itself misinformation, because it's a reductive simplification full of biases intended to direct you to a certain set of decisions and also to enhance the power of already powerful big tech groups. Obama continued to say that the profound change that's taken place in how we communicate and consume information is one of the greatest threats to democracy. Bloody hell. Democracy ain't in great shape. I've got to tell you, and it's not been in great shape for a long while. Democracy is not like, hey, look, we've got democracy, but by God, it's under siege. Democracy is a total mess. Lobbying, Congress people investing in stocks of companies that they regulate. The corruption is mental, it's endemic, it's out of control, it's catastrophic. It's all right, look, we've got democracy, it's all right, just don't say nothing mad on the internet about Russia. We're just holding on to it. It's a catastrophe. It needs radical redressing. We're not talking about reform and preservation and conservation anymore. We're talking about what kind of radical changes are we going to undertake now in order to save the planet, to save ourselves and save our souls. And if people aren't giving you that, they're giving you misinformation. Social media platforms aren't just our window to the internet, they serve as our primary source of news and information. No one tells us that the window is blurred, subject to unseen distortions and subtle manipulations. We do, we tell you that all the time, we tell you that every single day. It's happening right now. Obama said that social media companies need to be regulated, including being held responsible for content posted by users. Elon Musk's bought Twitter. Right, make social media companies responsible right now. I am up for regulation of big businesses, generally speaking. The incredible ability to generate profits, the ability to not pay tax, the ability to obfuscate and mask their actions and intentions. But what this is talking about is the ability to control the public sphere, the ability to control the public conversation, the ability to crush dissent. That's what this is. This is not about helping you. This is about preventing you participating as an autonomous, free individual in the conversation about your lives and your culture. Why don't they point out that big tech also harvests and controls your data, steals your data, and in collaboration with the government seeks to moderate, modulate, and control your behaviour? No one's seeking to control that aspect of big tech. Oh, that's the profitable aspect of big tech, where big tech gets to steal from you, give to the government. It's been proven, it's been demonstrated, been shown again and again. No one's interested in that. Where's that speech? If we do nothing, I'm convinced that the trends we are seeing will get worse, he said. Without some standards, the implications of this technology for our elections, for our legal system, for our democracy, which I want to control absolutely, and I don't want any dissent in, for rules of evidence, for our entire social order, are frightening and profound. Wouldn't you feel a lot more confident in Barack Obama if he went out and goes, listen, I know we've done all sorts of shady stuff, you only need to look at what's happening with Assange right now, the dude's going to be extradited. Snowden's still banged up in Russia, simply for revealing the true nature of government power and our liaison with big tech companies. Furthermore, it's pretty clear that stuff did go on with that Hunter Biden laptop, and we weren't entirely transparent about that. A little bit of misinformation went on there. I'm also concerned, though, about your health, because then immediately I might start listening, because there's some transparency, there's some accountability, some openness, rather than just trotting out a respected statesman and a former official who, in my opinion, squandered that moment of hope and change by simply doing what people in that position have always done, bailing out big banks, going to war in countries that may or may not have resources, and then turning up 10, 15 years later to offer us more of the same and saying it's for our benefit. We've already seen what it looks like when this dude's in charge. Tech platforms need to accept that they play a unique role in how we as a people and people around the world are consuming information, and that their decisions have an impact on every aspect of society. With that power comes accountability. Yeah, indeed. And in democracies like ours, at least the need for some democratic oversight. Obama singled out former Trump advisor Steve Bannon and Russia's President Vladimir Putin as people who have leveraged misinformation. I'm not saying that Trump or Bannon or Putin are great guys, but I'm saying that I would accept critiques of those individuals more heartily and readily from someone that was willing to be open and transparent and indeed accountable about their own shortcomings, about their own evident failings. And unless this report didn't include it, and I didn't do my research, I think that would be in the news, wouldn't it? If Obama come out and said, the Hunter Biden laptop thing, shady, and we shouldn't have suppressed that, it's going to make people cynical about the outcome of that election. We made a mistake there. Also, we know that the Assange Snowden stuff was dodgy. I'm sorry that during my entire presidency, we were always bombing some Middle Eastern place or another. That was wrong. I shouldn't have been doing that. But remember, we did kill Bin Laden. That was a good day, wasn't it? You can't trust them. You can't trust them because they are the mouthpieces of systems that exist entirely for self-benefit and must at all costs resist even the distant possibility that you might ever be able to intersect, intercede, interrupt, or heaven forbid, control them. Democracy, as you by now surely know, is a sham, and its most powerful figures are its salespeople, its spokespeople. They're not there for you. If they were there for you, they would talk about ways that you could have more power, not less power. They would talk about ways they could moderate and control powerful institutions, not further empower them. They would speak openly about the evident and obvious injustices that we've all seen take place within these titans, within these apparent pillars of media, the corporate and state world, and in particular the relationships between them. None of that is happening, and there is a reason for it. That is at all costs what must be preserved. The pyramid of power can never be interrupted. And the only thing, guess what? The only thing that can interrupt it is you. You and me and all of us together. And as long as we can't speak properly, can't communicate correctly, are distracted by minor cultural, racial, gender, sexual, economic differences amidst the melee of us, then we are no threat to them. But just to make sure, let's make sure that they can't talk freely on the internet.
Rx has completely rebuilt the retail pharmacy experience using robotics and automation and our own proprietary pharmacy management software, creating what we really believe is the best pharmacy experience available today. Our local micro-fulfillment pharmacies provide the personalization and local presence of an independent pharmacy, while our free same-day delivery offers customers a DoorDash-like experience at no additional cost. Our biggest competitive advantage is the full-stack integration of our award-winning pharmacy software, QuickFill, and also our robotic dispensing that's inside every NowRx location, allowing us to fill prescriptions faster, more reliably, and at a lower cost than our competitors. The next generation of healthcare has finally arrived, and the
autocrats like Putin have used these platforms as a strategic weapon against democratic countries that they consider a threat, he said. I bet America do that as well. Don't you imagine that they do disinformation, misinformation, stir stuff up? We know they do. There's evidence of it in Latin America. It's not necessary for people to believe this information in order to weaken democratic institutions. You just have to flood a country's public square with enough raw sewage. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I think that you should have access to all of the information. I'm not afraid of what Steve Bannon might tell me or what Vladimir Putin might tell me. I'm afraid he might attack me with a nuclear missile. I'm not afraid of what he might say to me or he might leverage misinformation at me. I think we should be equally discerning about all potential sources of information and then over time establish trust and relationship with a variety based on our personal experiences, our differing needs and opinions. Any attempt to control the information that comes in and to control your thoughts. You know, what do they think of us? They think that we're stupid and that we can't be trusted to discern correctly. Clearly that's true. And they think that we're malevolent, that we have to be heavily governed and heavily controlled. I think the opposite. I think that you are bright. I think that you are beautiful. I think you're capable of making your own decisions. I don't think you need me or anybody to tell you what to think. You've been through things that I will never understand. You've experienced things that I'll never understand. You have different opinions from me for reasons that I can't comprehend and perhaps never will. And I believe in your right to be and do all of those things, aside from some pretty obvious principles that crop up in ideologies, philosophies, and theologies across the world. You know, don't kill each other, don't hurt each other. I think that we should be free to do whatever we want to do, to be whoever we want to be. I don't want Barack Obama or Steve Bannon or Vladimir Putin to be in charge of that. So look at who is advocating for more control, look at who is advocating for less control, and you decide for yourself who you think is the greatest threat to your freedom. Is that to raise enough questions, spread enough dirt, plant enough conspiracy theorising that citizens no longer know what to believe? Oh, so you know what to believe. You already know democracy is in trouble. You already know that a significant number of your Congress people, all of them, are receiving lobbying money. You know that many of them are invested in stocks. That's significant information. Deal with that. Deal with that information. Forget misinformation. Come out and say, right, there might be misinformation for a while. We're stopping that. And the Wall Street and Washington revolving door, that don't move no more. And that's affected me personally, because guess what I've been doing since I've been president? You know, that would garner a little more respect and a little more trust than just more measures that look like they might lead to you not being able to express yourself on your phone. Obama says he was not surprised to learn that Putin was accused of trying to influence the 2016 presidential election through social media. It's been pretty conclusively proven that that was made up and paid for by his mates. Here's Glenn Greenwald, the Pulitzer Prize-winning right-wing fascist. A group of former intelligence and national security officials on Monday issued a jointly signed letter warning that pending legislative attempts to restrict or break up the power of big tech monopolies, Facebook, Google and Amazon, would jeopardise national security because, they argue, their centralised censorship power is crucial to advancing US foreign policy. The majority of this letter is devoted to repeatedly invoking the grave threat allegedly posed to the US by Russia, as illustrated by the invasion of Ukraine, and it repeatedly points to the new dangers of Putin and the Kremlin to justify the need to preserve big tech's power in its maximalist form. Any attempt to restrict big tech's monopolistic power would therefore undermine the US fight against Moscow. That's brilliant, isn't it? That is a somewhat interesting perspective, that just as people start to become really powerfully, strongly disillusioned en masse with their institutions, as trust breaks down post-pandemic, as people think, oh no, Joe Biden, it's not any better, is it? Oh no. Hey, never mind that, guys. Big threat coming. Big threat coming. Sit and quake in your little houses and shut up and trust it all to mummy and daddy over at big tech and the state. As long as you're frightened, as long as you're disillusioned, as long as you can't trust anybody, and as long as you can't trust yourself, you're malleable, you're fodder. While one of their central claims is that big tech monopoly power is necessary to combat, i.e. censor, foreign disinformation, several of these officials are themselves leading disinformation agents. Many were the same former intelligence officials who signed the now infamous and debunked pre-election letter fraudulently claiming that the authentic Hunter Biden emails had the hallmarks of Russia disinformation. But we've already seen how they control, manage and manipulate misinformation or information, or those two subjective terms that are interchangeable according to the will, whims and agenda of the powerful. Former Obama Director National Intelligence James Clapper and former Obama CIA Director Michael Morrell, former Obama CIA Pentagon Chief Leon Panetta. Others who signed this new letter have strong financial ties. Oh God, oh God, oh no, I'm so worn out. I can't keep doing it, can you? Like, Barack Obama is out there in all the righteousness. Are there any strong financial ties between your allies that have signed this letter and the big tech companies? How do you keep smiling? How do you keep the faith amidst all this? Others who signed this new letter have strong financial ties to the big corporations whose power they are defending in the name of national security. Morrell, Panetta, and former Bush National Security Advisor Fran Townsend. It's all the same names, isn't it? And you're getting tired of hearing this. Bush, Clinton, Obama, Biden, Bush, Clinton. Then they expect us to turn out every 4 years. We've got Biden, but he's wearing a different hat. We've got Obama, but it's a woman one. Look, why do you guys not respect our democracy? We've got Bush, but it's a little baby Bush. Why do you not? How much freedom do you people need? Right, we're going to shut down your freedom to complain about this lack of freedom. We're giving you all these 4 families and every single member of the family, and you're still not happy. When will you respect our democracy and our sacred financial relationships between these families and these powerful big tech companies and their media subsidiaries? What's wrong with you? We've got to protect democracy. But all of that, in a way, is just what I think. Tell me what you think is more important, what I think. I'm crazy, clearly. Hit me up in the comments below if you enjoyed this video. Have a look at this one or this one. Please subscribe to our mailing list so we can stay in direct contact with you. Subscribe right now. Turn on the notification bell. We are going to be responsible for truth. We will do whatever we have to do to bring you as much truth as I can squeeze out of my various face holes. I love you. Stay free.
Here's how to cancel a subscription with Truebill. Open the app, go to the Recurring tab, and here you can see a calendar of all your upcoming charges. Tap on the subscription you want to cancel. Now tap Cancel Subscription, and then cancel this for me. And you're done. Subscription canceled. No confusing websites, no auto-renew, no long hold times. It's so easy, the average Truebill user saves $720 a year. Click now to learn more about Truebill.
Crypto.com Visa card. A metal card. Powered by crypto. How about these certs? Reserve yours now.
Eugene, you destroyed those 2 coons on Fox Soul. Let me talk to you, Eugene, about them 2 brothers. Let me talk to you, Eugene, about them 2 brothers on Fox Soul, my brother. Let me talk to you about the two brothers on Fox Soul. First of all, brothers and sisters, if you didn't see Dr. Umar's Fox Soul debate, make sure you watch the debate I had on Fox Soul the other day with my two Snow Bunny brothers. Please go watch the debate I had on Fox Soul with my two Snow Bunny brothers. How would y'all compare the Snow Bunny debate on Fox Soul with the Snow Bunny debate on the Roland Martin show that I had? Which one was worse? Which one was worse? Roland Martin? The Snow Bunny debate we had on News One Now, TV One with Roland Martin? Or the Snow Bunny debate I had 3 days ago on Fox Soul with the two interracially married brothers? Which one was worse for the culture? Which one was worse? Was the Roland Martin one worse? Because you know the Roland Martin debate was all about interracial marriage too. So I've had two major interracial marriage debates, two major Snow Bunny debates. Roland Martin back in 2017, I think that was. And then we just had Fox Soul. Which one was worse? TV One, News One Now, or Fox Soul? Which one was worse? News One Now with Roland Martin or Fox Soul? And what was sad about the Fox Soul Snow Bunny debate, those brothers meant what they said. I do not think they were Jesse Lee Peterson. See, Jesse Lee Peterson, I think he deliberately plays the buffoon. Deliberately plays the buffoon. Those two brothers on Fox Soul, they believed everything they said. Fat Nasty Author, what should you do if you are being stalked by a jealous beta male? I need some advice from y'all. Can I get some advice from the Ifa Tunde Nation? Can I get some advice from the Ifa Tunde Nation? Can I get some? I'm being stalked by an aggressive, jealous beta male. What can you do? I got about 6 beta males stalking me. They send me text messages all day. He obviously ain't getting no cookies, brother. Fat Nasty Author, I know you ain't getting no cookies, my brother. It's no way you got a woman. It's no way you got a woman. It is impossible for you to have a woman who is pleasing you and catering to you, and you sending me messages at 8 in the morning. No black man should be waking up with another black man on his mind. No black man should be waking up with another black. It's this fat, nasty, jealous, envious, wannabe Garveyite message me at 8 in the morning. Why are you sending me hate mail at 8 in the morning, brother? Let me go to the diagnostic, man. I got to get this Negro a diagnosis. I think Fat Nasty Author needs a diagnosis. I'm going to give you a diagnosis, my brother. OCD? You obsessed with Dr. Umar. OCD? What else you got? I think you got some sexual issues, too. Let me see. I think we got some sexual issues. You see what we got for you here, Fat Nasty Author. Sexual, let me see. I'm looking for, what do they call it now? What do they call it now when a man is having uncomfortable sexual urges towards another male? I think they took it out. What is that disorder? It's skipping my mind. I'm going to get the diagnosis for you, brother, because you need some therapy. And I want you to get in touch with the black psychologist so we can heal you, my brother, because it is no reason for a black man to be sending another black man hate texts at 8 in the morning. Hey, what is wrong with you? Bro, 8 in the morning? You know what I'm doing 8 in the morning? I'm trying to finish off what I did 8 at night. What's wrong with this Negro? What is wrong with these coons? You know what I'm doing 8 in the morning? I'm trying to finish off what I started 8 o'clock last night. Shout out to my African queens. Shout out to my African queens. Tell these beta males to leave me alone. Here's what I would say. I would say, I gotta excuse me for 1 minute. 1 second. I'm coming right back. Been drinking a lot of water. Been drinking a lot of water. Well, it's natural. When you have a lot of fluid in your body, you know, I drink a lot of water on my speaking tour. I'm not allowed to use the restroom. So I'm not allowed to use the restroom. I washed my hands. You beta males, listen. What am I going to do with you beta males? Y'all worried about me in the... Yo, we got to do something about black manhood is at an all-time low. Black manhood is at an all-time low. If you telling me that you didn't hear the water, if you were listening for the water that I used to wash my hands, if you were listening for the water that I use to wash my hands, that also means you were listening for the stream of water that I was releasing from my bladder. And that is a very tender, moist, beta male behavior. If you were listening for the water, you were listening for my urine stream as well. And that is not alpha behavior. You Negroes need some group therapy. I'm going to start a group therapy class. I'm going to start a group therapy class for beta male survivors. I'm going to start a group therapy class for beta male. Y'all just told on yourselves. You Negroes just told on yourself. If you were listening for the water, you was listening for the piss. If you were listening for the water, you were listening for the piss. How do you know the difference between the piss and the water? You nasty, tender, moist, Duncan Hines ass beta male coons. I'm done. I'm gonna burn some sage today. When I get to 930 Pecan Point Boulevard, I got to burn some sage. I'm gonna burn some incense. We got to flush you coons out, because you beta male coons is messing up the black community, brothers and sisters. He said he didn't hear no water, so that means you was listening. You was listening to my urine stream, brother. That is very... I hope you ain't got no woman. I hope that...
Can a company make the planet a better place? At Walmart, we're pursuing 100% renewable energy in our operations and aiming to protect millions of acres of land so we can all live better.
My mother gave me this ring when I was going through a really hard time in my life. And when she's going through a hard time, she has it. We pass on this ring because we know we're always there for each other. It's our sisterhood. Express your extraordinary love. Save 15% on select merchandise. Share it. Love brilliantly.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Reacteria.
get started on this one because today we're looking at another video from John and Jane, and this time they're going to try to debunk natural selection. Now, if you remember, the last time we saw John and Jane, they actually described natural selection and said that it makes sense and that it works and that it fits into their creationist model. So I am dying to know how they're going to disprove natural selection while also saying that natural selection works. But as always, before we get started, you know I gotta thank my patrons on Patreon because they're freaking awesome. Stay until the end of the video if you want to see a credits roll with all of their names on the screen. And also, the sponsor of today's video, NordVPN! With NordVPN, all of your internet data stays safe behind a wall of next-generation encryption. And with their strict no-logs policy, they don't track, collect, or share any of your private data. Because, quite frankly, it's none of their business. And that's why you would get a VPN in the first place, is to stop other people from doing that. So how kind of them to guarantee that they don't do it either. Nord has over 5,400 servers in 59 countries, so you can enjoy the internet with no limits and no borders. That means that you can use their service to log on to places like Netflix through another country, which opens up a totally new world of possibilities because you can access new content that isn't available where you are. I'm always happy to be sponsored by Nord because it's a service that I actually use every day, and they give my subscribers amazing discounts. If you go to nordvpn.com/ValkyLabs today, you're going to get a 2-year plan plus 1 additional month for free, all for just $3.35 a month. That's actually cheaper than their 1-year plan. So you get 2 years plus an extra free month for less than you would just pay for 1 year at regular price. That's legitimately great. Plus, the best part is, one single account allows you to connect up to 6 different devices. So every single internet connection in your whole house could be protected with just $3.35 a month. How cool is that? And to top it all off, they're throwing in a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you get your $3.35 back if you don't like it. So there's no reason to not try it out. If you want to know what a VPN is all about, if you want to take control of your internet privacy, just go to nordvpn.com/ValkyLabs and get started. And speaking of getting started, let's jump into this video from John and Jane.
Is it just me, or is natural selection kind of blind when it comes to evolution? John! Where is he? Let's see here. Messing with my privacy.
You know, Jane, if you're worried about privacy, you could always try NordVPN. Just go to nordvpn.com/ValkyLabs and take control of your internet privacy today.
Huh?
Ow!
John? Are you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
Are you sure you're okay?
Yeah, no, I just got back from the eye doctors. They dilated my pupils. Getting here was a little dicey, but I'm starting to see a lot better now.
Then why are you talking to a coat rack?
I thought you were looking a little taller.
Ah. And it stopped being funny just like that. So this is what we're doing now. This is how we're going to start this video off. Just in case you were wondering, if they dilated his pupils, that wouldn't affect his vision in any way. All that means is that they used a medication, eye drops, to force his irises to contract and open up his pupils so that a doctor can basically look inside of his eyeballs. That's all that means. That doesn't mean that he's going to be bumping into stuff or confusing a person with a coat rack or not able to read his text messages or anything like that. All it means is that his eyes are behaving as if they're in a dark room at all times. So he's going to need to wear sunglasses to protect his eyes because normal amounts of light would be very painful and could potentially even damage his eyeballs. So until that medication wears off and his eyes can respond to light normally, he needs to wear sunglasses. That's all that's happening there. That's all that means. So this is just more of Genesis Apologetics continuing on their campaign to misrepresent the most basic concepts of science in order to prop up their ridiculous arguments. And now they're doing this whole campy bit about John not being able to see. And I get it. Like, I'm not trying to be a spoil sport here. and try to just nitpick everything. I understand you can't see and you bump into something and it's funny. I get that. But the problem is they started this video by saying that natural selection is blind. And I will bet $1 million that throughout this video, they're going to keep calling back to that. Either by using the word blind as a continuing buzzword, or by referring back to the concept of blindness to try to say that natural selection doesn't know what it's doing and can't possibly have a plan in mind. And they're using John as a prop to kind of build this concept of the funny things that a blind thing would look like, what blindness makes you do. So they're just using visually impaired people as the butt of a joke to build their stupid argument that, natural selection doesn't work. And it's just cheap, and it's lousy, and it's completely unnecessary, and it's a crappy way to start off this video. So, wow, that killed my mood. Man, let's see what's next.
I was gonna get your help deciding on what swatches to pick out, but I think this is a really bad time.
No, I can do it. Give me a try.
Yeah, case in point, right there. If his pupils were dilated and he took off his sunglasses in a brightly lit room like that, that would be excruciating. So, they have no idea how anything works, and they're just making a stupid, pointless joke. What's the point? Just what's the point of any of this?
We better get to studying.
What are we studying today?
Natural selection. I've already started reading it. There's a great definition in our biology textbook. So, natural selection is the process by which organisms with variation most suited to their local environment survive and leave more offspring.
So, evolutionary theory holds that natural selection is one of the forces that drives evolution?
How's that work?
Well, evolutionists say a mutation happens in the sex cells of a creature, and its offspring exhibits the resulting trait difference, like a new feather color or something. The trait can give it an advantage or a disadvantage. A beneficial mutation would cause it to become a little better at surviving in an environment than the non-mutants. So, its descendants, and thus the trait, eventually outnumber the others. Then the scenario repeats with another variation, supposedly driving evolution forward. But rather than this process producing just the varieties we see among animal kinds, they believe this process built those animals from completely different ones, and can eventually lead to one kind of animal turning into another.
And here in the biology textbook, they point out that the polar bear had the advantage as a predator in the snow because of its white coat. And it also shows that if you start with yellow and green grasshoppers, two different traits inherited from the parents, the green may outnumber the yellow in a green environment because they are harder for birds to see and catch.
In all fairness, that's a fairly decent explanation of natural selection. If you were to take all of the supposedlies and believes and evolutionists out of there, that would be a pretty solid way to define natural selection. So, kind of a good job, you guys.
So, did the grasshoppers think through how other animals would avoid it if it looked more camouflage? Did it know how to genetically engineer itself to express those colors? Did a polar bear engineer its own white coat?
Damn it, John, I was just saying something nice about you.
No, but that's not what evolutionists believe. They think that these changes happen randomly in the DNA, influencing an individual's survivability. Evolution is a blind process, no offense.
Nah, you don't get to say no offense to the person who can very clearly see after you just got done making fun of blind people. Sorry, doesn't work that way, dude.
Intelligent choices supposedly have nothing to do with it.
Evolutionists believe natural selection figured out how to design an eye. But how? It would have to build and preserve over who knows how many generations, hundreds of complicated interacting eye parts, including proteins that were all useless until the whole package was eventually assembled.
No, it wouldn't. At all. I can't get too mad at this because this is a very, very common misunderstanding when we talk about the evolution of complex structures like eyeballs or limbs or whatever. Our eyes didn't evolve from nothing right to where they are today. They didn't have to build up all the complex muscles and proteins or whatever else that's in them and just store them until they would eventually be useful at some point. That makes no sense. The truth is, there have been several steps, several different kinds of eyeballs with slow transitions between them, all building up to the kind of eyes that we see today. And each and every one of those steps was a fully formed kind of eyeball. They were all useful, otherwise they wouldn't have evolved. They all served their own purpose, they all worked just fine for the organism that had them, and they slowly got a little bit better and a little bit more complex as time went on, and for that reason they kept evolving that way. This is something that I've talked about countless times before, because it's really not as complicated as people like to make it sound. You just start out with a patch of photosensitive cells. You can now tell the difference between light and shadow. If you put a little dent in that patch of photosensitive cells, this cup eye can now tell the direction that light is coming from. So that's a little bit better. And the deeper that cup is, and the more narrow the opening is, the more resolution you're going to get, the more definition on which direction light's coming in. So now you have this pinhole camera eye. And then you just slap on a lens or a cornea so you can focus the light coming in, and boom, you've got a complex eyeball. It's really not that difficult. It's just a step-by-step process that takes a long time. And we can still see every single one of those stages in living animals today. Because again, they are all useful. They are all fully formed eyes. So there was never a point where some half-ape creature had half of an eyeball and was just waiting for humans to evolve so it could finally see. That's just not how anything works.
How did it know to engineer animals for flight? Or a navigation system so tiny it can fit in the head of a monarch butterfly, which is smaller than a pin.
Again, this is the problem with the whole irreducible complexity argument. You're looking at modern species with admittedly very complex and intricate systems and structures, and you're assuming that these things could only possibly work the exact way that they are, because they can only work the exact way they are in the current phase that they're in. And you're missing all of these other steps, all of these other fully formed, fully functional ways that these things operated, building up to the point where you're now observing them and they only work this way now. And so you're missing out on all of this beauty and all of this information, and you're just looking right here. And it kind of makes you think. You can imagine what the descendants of these species are going to look like millions of years in the future. And if you could see that, you would see that what we have now is a rudimentary form of whatever else is going to evolve, because life is always evolving. We haven't hit the peak. Every single time a species reproduces, it is evolving and it's getting more interesting and more exciting. It doesn't necessarily mean it's always getting more complex. But in cases like this, we're talking about complex systems, we have to remember that every single generation is the next step in evolution.
A human brain that's far more complicated than our best computers if it is a totally blind process with no goal or purpose in view.
You're right. Natural selection is just a process. It doesn't have a brain. It can't think or design. It had no foreknowledge of what it was trying to accomplish.
So what are you going to say when we do eventually build a computer that's far more complicated than our own brains? What then? Just because we haven't figured something out doesn't mean that it's magical. Evolution doesn't need any foreknowledge of what it's trying to build, because it isn't trying to build anything. It's just about what works in the moment, what helps any one individual survive and reproduce. Think about it like a pile of Legos, only some of the bricks have all the pegs shaved off and some of the bricks have all the holes filled in with glue. Only some of them are going to fit together properly. So if I just sit there and just one at a time pick a totally random Lego and try to stack it, and if it doesn't work, I toss it and grab another totally random Lego, eventually, by totally random picking, I would build a pretty big tower. And you could come along and say, aha, look, see, there must be some intelligent design here. They must have had a plan to build this beautiful tower. When really, the tower is just an emergent property of the random process of just stacking whatever random brick I could and throwing away the ones that I couldn't. So for you to point at the tower as it is and assume that it's something special is ignoring everything that it was and everything that it could be. It's just totally myopic to look at life this way.
As the textbook points out, it favors a creature's overall ability to survive, but the actual changes are happening deep down in the creature on a microscopic level inside the genes.
That's because the genes are the end-all, beat-all determining factor for an organism's survival. You aren't going to get eyes or venom glands or blubber or limbs or wings or anything without the proper genes for it. So yes, you need these microscopic changes in order to build big macroscopic changes. How else do you expect it to work? Magic? Wait.
Wait. So you're saying that when certain individuals die, all their genes just go away?
Yes!
Meaning that natural selection has no power in selecting individual genes?
No!
Well, it can't see genes, just whole organisms. Kind of like me trying to help you pick out swatches that I can't even see.
You can freaking see, John!
Also, natural selection is supposed to mean survival of the fittest. But what if someone, nobody in particular, had their eyes dilated and was leaving when they knocked over the fish tank in the waiting room?
You did.
Anyway, if exactly half of them died because they didn't get them in the water, was it survival of the fittest?
No, it was survival of the luckiest.
Yeah, that's called a disturbance. You're not breaking any new ground here. A random event that kills random members of a population could have a variety of different effects, or no effect at all. Especially if that event happens on a semi-regular basis at least, you could see noticeable ecological or even evolutionary results. Like, imagine a beach that's full of boulders. The smallest boulders are going to roll all over the place every single time the tide comes in or out. The biggest boulders are going to stay right where they are and never move. Whereas the medium boulders are going to roll a little bit depending on the strength of the tide on any given day. They might move, they might not. You could expect the smaller boulders to be inhabited by fast-growing algae because they're getting rolled around all the time and they're getting turned over and the algae is getting killed off on a regular basis. Whereas the bigger boulders are going to be covered in slow-growing kelp and barnacles and things that need a more stable environment. And the medium boulders are either going to have a blend of all these different species or maybe a totally new species all on their own. This is niche partitioning as a result of intermittent disturbances, survival of the luckiest causing predictable evolutionary effects. So ideally, any one of these species could grow on any of these boulders, so we would call that their fundamental niche. But in reality, because of the way that the tides work and because of the way the boulders move, they can only grow in certain areas, so we call that their realized niche. Just because you aren't studying this doesn't mean that it isn't being studied, dude.
Yeah, well, here's a picture of two mutant flies and a normal one. Which one do you think is the most likely to survive in a particular environment?
None of them. When I hit him with my fly swatter. Alright. The normal one would probably survive best. But it depends on the environment, right?
Yeah. So evolution that turns a simpler organism into a fruit fly relies on mutants becoming better able to survive as new genetic information is added, and then surviving to pass their genes onward. Mutants are usually worse off since most mutations are harmful, and natural selection actually cleanses the population by killing the less fit mutants.
Two things. One, they're lying. As we've talked about several times before on this show, every single time DNA is copied, there's a big chance for mutation. There's copy errors all the time, and those could do nothing, or they could be beneficial, or they could be deleterious. So their argument here that they keep making that mutations are bad, or even that most mutations are bad, is complete nonsense. Every single person watching this has, on average, around 200 to 300 unique mutations. So their use of the word mutants as if it's something that means like diseased, malformed, whatever that needs to be like purged from the gene pool is not only scientifically inaccurate, it's also pretty freaking gross. Which brings me to my next point. Maybe we shouldn't be throwing around words like cleanse from the population, especially when we're talking about genes. It's kind of an unpleasant history with that sort of language.
This might help keep the most effective traits within a population.
So the real world works exactly opposite of what evolution requires.
Bingo.
No, it doesn't. The worst traits are removed, and the best traits stay. That's what you just said. That's natural selection. That's how evolution works. I'm seeing a trend with so many of these videos. They keep defining evolution and then saying that that's not evolution. And it's like they can't escape reality anymore. But if they can just convince enough people that blood isn't red, it's crimson, then we'll be having a totally different, pointless conversation until we all just get so frustrated that we forget what we're talking about and just go our separate ways.
And while lots of small mutations can give a survival advantage in specific environments, virtually all the real-life examples show a loss of genetic information, not a gain.
There again! John just admitted that evolution works. Again, play that back.
And while lots of small mutations can give a survival advantage in specific environments,
lots of small mutations can give a survival advantage in specific environments. That's how evolution works. That's the whole point of evolution. This video is literally saying, I know animals evolve, they just don't evolve. What are we doing?
Evolutionists have tried to propose various genetic explanations, like gene duplication, but they're putting their faith in a process that has never actually been observed.
We have observed gene duplication and lots of other genetic mechanisms for evolution. We've observed them countless times. I have observed them in cell bio and microbio and genetics labs all throughout my college career. When was the last time that you observed the creation of a human from dust or a rib, John?
What's gene duplication?
It's when a whole gene accidentally gets copied and then it mutates to become another new gene.
Nice story. Have scientists ever seen that happen?
Nope, never.
It's literally how PCR tests work. PCR stands for polymerase chain reaction, and it results in gene amplification, which is a term for when a gene is duplicated so much that you can't even keep track of it. It duplicates hundreds or thousands of times. And I've run so many PCR tests, I could do it in my sleep. Now, granted, PCR is something that's done under, like, laboratory conditions, so you could argue that that's not something that happens in nature. But just for funsies, I just searched Google Scholar for gene duplication, and I found this completely random, just one of the top ones that came up. This is a study from 2012, published in the journal Science, which is one of the most prestigious science journals in the world, about how evolution, by way of several mechanisms, including duplication, was observed in real time in Salmonella bacteria. It literally took me under 1 minute to find this. Is that the problem? Did John and Jane just not have access to Google Scholar?
And most examples of supposed evolution in action involve things like chemical pathways and small changes in proteins. But how do you get a fin to turn into a limb and then a human hand?
Oh, that's an easy one. It's through chemical pathways and small changes in proteins. I dare you to define what a Hox gene is, John.
They tell interesting stories about how it must have just happened. But I can't find any evidence it actually happened.
So, just so we're clear, you do not believe in a process that we can all literally watch happening with our own eyes, because the countless, well-documented, direct observations of genetic changes in response to selection pressures, both in the laboratory and out in the field, are just not sufficient evidence for you. But you do believe in a supernatural entity that exists outside of the confines of space and time that created all life on this planet exactly as it is, just like that. Because you read about it in a book once. Got it. Makes total sense.
So, a typical mutation removes information, but only a mutation that can explain how philosophers came from fish.
And if you think about it, natural selection can't create anything. It can only whole individuals with traits that are...
How could nature ever add information to some DNA by subtracting some of what is already there?
But you just explained that. You said a typical mutation removes information, which, no, it doesn't, but whatever. That would mean that other mutations add information, right? You literally just said some mutations add information, but where does the information come from? Like, did you not think that we were going to listen to the whole sentence?
Great question. And speaking of information, here's another question evolutionists have not even come close to answering. How could chemicals from early Earth spontaneously form molecules with information?
That's the first question you've asked that's actually a question. And the answer is easy as evolution, and you can do it in a jar. Simple, naturally occurring molecules self-assemble into complex organic molecules. Progressive regularity all the time. We found amino acids on asteroids in space. What, did your god start making life up there too, but he forgot what he was doing halfway through and gave up? Or did that one come to kill the dinosaurs as well, and it just bounced off of Earth and took a little bit of organic matter with it? This is the most frustrating part of these John and Jane videos. Just because you can ask a question doesn't mean that there isn't an answer.
But the biggest problem I have with natural selection being able to create new kinds of animals is found right here in our biology textbook. Let me see if I can find it.
But how will you be able to find it if you can't see, John?
So, natural selection has no intelligence and can't even select what's happening on the genetic level. It can only subtract from what is already present in DNA, and it relies on death to create new kinds of life. Wow. You know, I'm really starting to see that natural selection really doesn't have the power that evolution needs, you know, to turn fish into apes, and then people.
Kind of makes you think, doesn't it?
I really wish that anything at all could make the two of you think, but I just don't have high hopes for it. Overall, I give this video a science teacher challenge level 1 out of 10. This is their worst one yet. They didn't ask any fun or interesting questions. They didn't bring up any new or exciting points. They tried to debunk evolution by defining it like 8 different times. Also, I'm probably going to cut out that whole obnoxious sermon there at the end, but they did manage to squeeze this little gem right into the middle of it.
How would you define religion?
I know this from class. It's basically defined as a system of beliefs.
Right, so would evolution qualify as a religion?
Because, you know, faith and belief and religion are all bad things, except when they're specifically in reference to young Earth creationism. Honestly, this is just the laziest argument of them all. They really can't see past their own nose to realize how quickly that's going to bite them in the butt. Because when they try to pull science down to their level and say that it takes faith and it doesn't have enough evidence and that it's just another religion, what they're arguing is that faith is a bad thing and that a religion can be easily dismissed and that evidence is what's important. And I agree with them on all of those points. But once they realize that science doesn't require faith and that it does have evidence and that it's the farthest thing from a religion, at the end of the day, all they're doing is speaking ill of their own position. So I guess thanks for doing a little bit of my work for me. I'm not sharing any of my ad revenue with you. And with that, I'm Forrest Valkai. Thank you so much for watching, for liking, for commenting, for subscribing, and all the other stuff you do here on YouTube. Please exit through the gift shop on your way out. Pick up one of these sweet t-shirts. If you like terrible podcasts, I've got one of those linked down below as well. Have an awesome rest of your day, and never stop learning. Bye-bye.
Yo, appreciate it. So I kind of been working on like the fabric for days now. Okay, so the last things that need a second layer of paint now are the socks. Well, actually the ankle band right here. So I stopped right above that. So I got to do the ankle band on the joggers, the socks, and then the stack of books over there. And then everything I have 2 layers of paint. And once I get the second layer of paint done, I'll start back over from the top. And then I'll start detailing some more coming down. Right now this is 2. I'm working on the second layer right now. And so I'll do a 3rd layer for detailing. And then maybe a 4th layer for like extra detailing. Like the book itself is gonna need a lot because there's a lot on the cover of the book. The pants are gonna need the lettering put on there. So that'll be one of the last things that go on. These books, they're gonna have lettering and stuff on there. And the carpet may need a couple more layers of paint till I get it that texture to make it look like carpet. So yeah, I might end up with like 4 layers of paint. If I'm lucky. 4 layers of paint should get it, and then it'll be looking like this. Oh, we suck at everything we don't do all the time. You know? But whatever you do all the time, you're pretty good at it because you do it all the time. Yeah, I do commissions all the time, actually. That's why I have so many, like, my original paintings. They don't hardly sell because they're so expensive. But I do a lot of commission work for other people because a lot of people can't afford my paintings. I just did some commission, a digital, I did a digital piece recently. So I just did this for somebody. Oh, what did I do? Can't hardly see all the details in there, but literally just finished this the other day. But yeah. I do a bunch of painting commissions, custom shoe commissions, digital art commissions, whatever it takes, yeah. Murals. I'll paint anything and everything. This has been an extra long stream. I was actually in here earlier and my stream cut out on me, so I just started it back up. But I got work in the morning and I'm hungry, so I'll probably go grab some food and make sure all my brushes are cleaned out. Yeah. I'll probably go grab some food and play some video games. Go to my Instagram, yeah. My Instagram is better. Paintings by the Prince. My last name is Prince, like that's my real legal last name, and I make paintings, so it's kind of easy to remember. Paintings by the Prince. You can find me on Facebook, but I update my Instagram more often. So but I'm on all platforms. You can, whatever you want to look on, just search Paintings by the Prince and I should pop up. I appreciate y'all time. How you think? I'm about to go eat and play some video games. I might stream some video games too for a little while if you want to check that out. But catch you downstairs. Peace.